Hello everybody, this is Network Nerd, and today I'm not actually playing Planet Coaster, but rather Transport Fever. Now I have played some Train Fever in the past, and I really enjoyed the game, and I've also played OpenTTD just a little bit, but I couldn't really get into that game all that much. As much as I love the isometric games such as Roller Coaster Tycoon, Roller Coaster Tycoon 2, SimCity, those types of games. OpenTTD was just a little hard to play, and I just could not get the rail system to work the way I thought it would. I was probably just using the signals wrong, and I'm probably going to have problems in this game. But from what I've seen on YouTube, it looks like it's a lot easier to manage and get the trains to go where you want. But yeah, so I have already pre-generated a map to play on. I've actually played around with I played the game a couple times already, just to see what the differences are between the Train Fever and then this Transport Fever. And I actually do really like this game so far, but I've kind of failed miserably on my first two attempts. Mainly because I wasn't paying attention to some of the new features that are in Transport Fever, which I'll probably talk about later on. But it basically brought my transportation systems to a halt, and I wasn't able to fix them in time before I was completely bankrupt. I don't think there's much else I want to say about it, so we're just going to go ahead and load up the map. And I do have to say I really enjoy the music in this game. It's sort of jazzy, but yeah, it's just, I'll definitely have it where you guys can hear it during the recordings. But it's really nice and relaxing. Okay, now that we're into the map, let's give it a little look over, see what we've got to work with. So right off the bat here, I'm seeing that we've got an oil and a refinery. So we can get fuel started here pretty easy to at least these three towns. We also have a logging camp and sawmill, or I guess it's a forest, but yeah, so we can do that, and we'll have some planks. Oh, and then we've got our plastic factory and goods factory right here. So right here we have an entire finished goods industry that we can set up. And supply these three towns. So that should be a really good start actually for getting some money in. Then I also see we have a farm and a food plant. So yeah, we can get some of our biggest industries started on these three towns. Now if we had a rock quarry, we've got one down here, and then we've got a construction plant up here. So everything except for tools and machinery would actually be covered in this one little area, which is extremely nice. That's pretty much an almost perfect start right here. Let's take a look at the rest of the map and see what we've got going on. So we've got a farm here, and then some food down here, logs and another plant. We got a quarry and then a construction plant here, which we could use to feed this side of the map with construction goods. We have another farm here with a plastics plant, and I'm seeing a machine tool plant here. Oh wow, we have 3 goods factories right in the middle here, and 4 steel plants, as well as another oil well and a few refineries actually, but mainly looking at this one. And then either another plastic plant over here. Actually, this is looking pretty good. Now there's some of these factories that are just kind of out in the middle of nowhere and won't be very helpful. Let's see, we have our coal here, so that can easily feed some of our steel plants. And then we've got iron down here and a few more coal deposits. but I'm only seeing this one iron deposit. Oh, actually there's another one, but it's across the river, so it's not ideal. But we could get some iron, or steel going pretty easy in here. And then we've got another well and refinery here. We don't have a lot of sawmills, unfortunately, but I think we'll be fine with basically one in this area, and then it looks like just this one sawmill is pretty much going to have to feed this entire part of the map. There's no wood around this sawmill at all. That's an extremely long distance to be hauling wood. So hopefully this one sawmill, once it starts upgrading itself, will be able to keep up with demand when we get around to really building up this area. This map looks pretty good. We've got a few waterways that we might be able to take advantage of. We have just a couple cities on the actual waterways, but there's quite a few resources and factories along it, so we definitely might be able to take advantage of these. But just because of how almost perfect this area is, we are definitely going to be starting in this part of the map. So let's go ahead and take a look here. We definitely want to get this fuel started up right away. It should be a pretty good money engine. So we just take our country road. We're just going to try and cut across here. Actually, we're going to have to turn on the contour lines because it does go uphill here. Although it looks pretty flat, so... let's try and get this connected up as directly as we can. There we go. That's not too expensive, and that's a bit of a shorter distance than having to go into town and then back out. Alright, let's go ahead and put in a truck station. And I do kind of want to put it as far away as I can just to game the system a bit, make the travel distance a little bit shorter. And then we put in one up here. And we'll want to make sure that we get this plastic plant set up. Of course, this has a nice little hill right here that is going to make this pretty expensive to put in. But I think right about here is going to be good. So now, let's get a depot. And we're going to find a nice little spot for it here. I actually might put the depot up here. Yeah, I think I'm going to put it in here. That way I can manage basically two of these lines. Now you'll notice that I have some odd looking UI. This giant check mark, the camera icon, these colored icons. I am using a number of mods already that are on the workshop. Pretty much some extra vehicle mods, adding in some different European trains that I like, a few other road vehicles, and then this UI mod. Actually, it normally would have changed, which you can kind of see it here maybe. I'm not sure if that's the normal texture anymore. But the UI mod, or I think it's called the Fever mod or something like that, would actually change all of the ground texture. It changes the trees, so these are different than normal. Apparently there are purple trees, a little odd. I might actually end up getting rid of the tree textures it adds. I don't know, they look okay to me. Just some of them are purple and red. I'm not sure why it's being odd. But yeah, it would have changed the ground texture, but I actually deleted the texture files because they weren't well done, and it just created a sort of repeating pattern, and it didn't look very good. But I do really like the colored UI pieces we get here, and then the vehicles will also be color coded. It just makes them a little easier to see against each other. But yeah, like I said, I also have some vehicle mods, and I have a few asset mods. If I were to go in here, actually I'm not sure what they're under. Oh, nope, they're not under that. Yeah, here we go. So, I'm not sure if these are in the normal game, but we have these different signs that would go. Although, I guess I don't really need these. Danger signs, I don't remember what they're from. But like we have these different blockers, so we can put them on the end of tracks to just kind of beautify the end of a track. And hopefully later on we'll start building train junctions and things that will use these. But yeah, so let's go ahead, and I always like to mess with the roads a bit before the towns start growing on their own. They do tend to make some odd choices on how the roads go, sort of like this one right here. I can't actually connect that up. Okay, that's good. It gets really expensive deleting buildings, especially at the start of the game, so I try to avoid it as much as I can. But yeah, so we've got our depot in. Let's go to our line manager. New line. And we're going to go from the well up to the refinery. We're going to call this road freight. We are in Castle. The city's called Castle Carry, but I'm probably just going to refer to it as Castle. And then this is our oil. Actually, I'm going to rename that to crude. And now we can grab a few vehicles. Right now all we have are the horse wagons. That's fine. We're going to go ahead and grab 6 of those. Just because of how long of a line this is. And we're going to set them onto the Castle Crude line. And I'm going to go ahead and place in our freight station for the plastics factory. Which is a bit expensive up here. Yeah, it's actually pretty expensive putting it in. There's a nice little drop off that's really upping the price on us. So we'll try and get it as close to the road as we can. So I think right like that. Should be in the catchment area. And we're going to add a new line. And we're going to go from the oil refinery over to the plastics factory. This is going to be road freight, Castle, oil. And we're going to need at least 3, maybe 4 vehicles. I think we'll just go with 4 vehicles for now. Oops. And we're going to go ahead and put them on the oil line. Now let's check out our sweet little wagons as they come out of the depot. I have to say, I really like the models in this game, especially for the trains. I have been watching a few other YouTubers play the game. And this isn't the first time I've been messing with this game. This is actually about my 3rd attempt. My first game ended very quickly. I had a poor map that I was trying to start on. And I didn't understand some of the finer details about the game. Such as how the freight stations need to be placed in the towns. I was still going off of how Train Fever worked, where you could just put them on the outside and they delivered on their own. So I had as you can see, the little UI colors that correspond to the different types of vehicles in the game. But yeah, on my first attempt, I ended up having my industries fall apart because they didn't see the demand from my industrial sector, because I had the freight station on the outside of town and it wasn't in the catchment area, so I couldn't figure out for the longest time why none of my industries were producing very much, and I wasn't growing my towns or getting hardly any money. And so I had to start over. And then on my second game, things were going pretty well for a while, but then all of a sudden, after I started building a train network, I just couldn't keep up with the maintenance costs of the trains, and everything just kind of came to a standstill. I was making about $10,000 every year, and I was at max debt, so... I had the loans maxed out, so just wasn't much I could do from that point. So this is now my 3rd attempt, and this is actually a really good starting point. And if you guys like this map as I'm going along, I'm going to see if the seed number, or whatever it's called, for this map was saved. I think I know where to grab it from. And I'll put it in the description below the video, so if you want to play on this map, you can. I'm going to go ahead and speed up time here. It's going to take forever for these wagons to make this delivery. They're just really slow, and this is actually a pretty long line for them. So while we're waiting on that, I think we're going to set up a passenger line between at least these 2 cities for right now, just to try and help along some of our money. I'm gonna slow it down just a little bit. Gonna go passenger. I like to place my bus stations near the outside of the town. That way you can do all of the inner city bus lines using just the regular buses, the bus stops. I'm gonna go ahead and work on these roads just a tad. just so that they're ready for when the towns start expanding. Now I don't want to remove these fields just yet because as you can see, it costs quite a bit of money to remove things. So that'll be much later on when we start trying to really expand the town that we can mess with that. And it seems to be on a pretty steep hill here, yeah. So it's going to cost us quite a bit of money to try and put a road in here. Just a little bit. Ooh, 169, yeah. That's, does not want to build up there very well. Okay, that wasn't too bad. And then we can just do something like that. And because I have a little bit of OCD, going to just go ahead and connect that around. Okay, so let's grab our bus station. And I like to put these near the outskirts of the town, like I said. So let's see, I think if we go in like right here, should be pretty good. And we're going to put in just a couple bus stops for our inner city line. So I think we can go there. And there. And that's really all we need for right now, but just to make the line, just so that it's already ready for later in the game, gonna go ahead and just place another bus stop. Let's head over to the other town, get the roads ready. And we can just do something like that. Let's connect this up. A little expensive there because of that bit of a hill, but not too bad. Do this, and bring this around. Throw in a few smaller roads. I wish it would, there we go. Have to just do a little bit like that. Curve around, hopefully some buildings should pop up there. I'm gonna go ahead and complete the outer belt if it's not too expensive. Go like that, and then connect it up. Let's grab our bus station. And I think we're actually going to place it over this way. Although that's pretty expensive, unfortunately. Let's see if we can get it in, I guess, right around here. That looks good. Alright, let's do a new line. I'm going to do the between towns. name this road passenger. Let's see, we're going from Corsham to Dulverton. So, Corsham. Yeah, Dulverton bus. Although, I guess we don't need to call it bus because we already have the road passenger. So we can just leave it as that. I really wish this window would stay wherever I last had it. That's one of my biggest complaints that I have with the game so far. Between that and then it actually takes quite a few tries to get a map that has something where you can actually start. A lot of times when you generate a new random map, you'll get something like, let's see, I think there's a good example on this map, like this. So you have an oil well, you've got a random factory on the top of a hill, a quarry that can't go to anything, just nothing lines up. Like you have an oil well here, but there are no refineries whatsoever anywhere close. But then you have a plastics factory which could use the oil from a refinery, but you can't do anything with it. So this is actually so as I said, I've played 2 other games before I started this one, and in between the second and this current game, I probably generated 20 random maps before I got one that could even be played on, which happened to be this one with this nearly perfect setup here. So I got really lucky, and I'm definitely just going to stick with this map now, because I'm not going to find anything nearly this great. But yeah, so between your little menus popping up in odd locations and the not so great map generation, the game's been pretty fun from what I've played so far. But yeah, anyway, so let's do a new line. We're going to do our inner city line. So just like that, and that should cover pretty much everything. And we're going to call this road passenger, and we are in Corsham. So Corsham. Oh no, actually for these I've decided I'm not doing road passenger. We're doing road passenger inner Corsham. That way I know it's the inner city line and not the intra-city line, or do I have those backwards? I think intra would be this, and then inner... No, I don't know. Anyway, I can't think of what the word is for a bus that goes between towns right now. It's just like a transfer line, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, so let's come over here to Dulverton, grab our bus stops, and we're going to add a few. So I think we should... Oh wow, we can cover almost the entire town with a bus stop here in the center of town. So I'm actually just going to put one here and here for right now. That's really all we need, because that's going to cover like 90% of this town. And then I'm just gonna put one down this way, just to get any straggling buildings that might pop up. Let's do another new line. We're gonna do the inner city line here. So we're gonna call this road passenger inner Dulverton. And now we need another depot. So I think I'm just gonna set it Because of this hill, the buildings aren't going to build up too well, so I'm just going to stick this, well, maybe not, it's pretty expensive right there, and it's a lot cheaper to go on this side of the bus station. So I think I'm just going to put this right in here. Right, so open our depot. And now we need stage coaches. So for this inner city line, because it's so short, we're just going to go with 3. Inner Overwritten. Gonna buy another 3. Put them on the inner Corsham. And let's see, this is a fairly long line, so we're gonna take, I think, 6. And put them on the between city line. So let's take a look at our lines here. You can see our crude oil line is making pretty good profit. And it could definitely use some more wagons on it. As you can see, it's really stacked up, and then that'll start killing off productivity here. We do have the money, so I think I'm going to go ahead and add a few more wagons to our crude oil line. And as you can see, the oil is not really stacking up yet because we are limited by what's coming up from the well. So we don't need more carts on this line just yet. And once that plastic gets going, we are going to want to try and start shipping it down to our goods factory. Because once this starts storing too much plastic, then that'll shut down, which will then shut down our refinery and oil well, and our money will start drying up. As you can see, it's sort of in this little, surrounded by mountains here. So our roads are not going to be very direct, which is going to make this a very long route. In fact, I want to see just what it might cost to tunnel through here. Yeah, so as you can see, if we try to tunnel through, it's going to take almost all of our money. Which means we have to come down and around, which is going to slow down our deliveries quite a bit. See if we can get a road in along here for not too much money. Anything we can do to shorten up this delivery route is going to save us, or going to make us more money in the long run. So I think we can just connect this about here. And that's gonna, there's a nice little hill there that's gonna make that way too expensive to put in. Yeah. So we basically just put in a little bypass around the town. So that should help a little bit at least. It's not ideal, but it's better. Okay, let's see. We do have this farm and then food factory that we could start working on. Although we also have this plank factory, which, yeah, we're definitely going to do this first, actually. So let's grab our freight station. Let's try and see how far we can put it. So it looks like right about over here. And it's fairly cheap to put in here. And then we're going to do the same for the planks. Line manager, new line, there to there. Road freight, and this is castle, wood. Let's grab our place again. Actually, what I want to do here is something like this. And we should still be in the catchment area. Yes, we are. Do it just like that. I want to double check. Okay, so we will be able to upgrade later on if we need to. Just out of curiosity, I want to see what kind of costs would come across here. So quite a bit. There's just enough of an elevation change across here that it's making the road a bit expensive. Although it looks really flat, it's just enough. It's making it act a little difficult for us. See if we can get this in pretty cheap. Ooh. So once you get to here that it really wants to up the cost. So actually we'll come around this way a little bit. There we go. So let's grab our line manager again. New line. There. Doing road freight for castle, and these will be our planks. I'm not sure if it's planks or boards. Oh, it is actually called planks. Okay, cool. And now for these lines, we're going to want another depot, and just going to go ahead and put it right in the middle. Go ahead and for right now, I think we're only going to do 3. Let's set them on the wood line by another 3. And set them on the planks line. And finally, we're going to take new line from here. Okay, so here's something we can try. Let me stop making this new line. So to make this our long line here just a little more efficient, what we're going to do is segment it a bit. We're going to add a new freight station. Let's see, gotta extend this out just a little bit. Oh, maybe we can't. Okay. So let's grab our freight station. We're just going to put it in, I think, right here. Here's the line we were just making. Let's add a station. Here. Actually, no, we don't need to do that. Let's just remove that line for a moment. I keep closing the line manager when I just want it out of the way. So let's click on our crude line. We're actually going to add this station now. So from Castle up to Castle West, and then after Castle West we're gonna stop back at Lower Castle Carry apparently. I actually want to rename this station. So Castle Carry transfer. If I could, you know, learn to type. Alright, so now what's going to happen, actually I need to put in the second half of this line now. So we're going to go from the transfer station over to sidings. This is going to be road freight, Castle, what are we bringing down? Plastics. So this will be the line bringing our plastics in. Now what we need to do is... Okay, so the reason we did it this way, our carts are on automatic. So whatever needs picked up, they will be able to change and pick up. So our wagons will come down to the well, pick up their oil, come up here, drop it off, and then they're coming down. They would normally be heading back to the well empty. But what we are going to do instead is our plastics are going to be made here, get carried on our empty wagons to this station. Then our plastics will be picked up by the empty carriages headed back to the well, get dropped off at our transfer station on their way, and then we'll have a second leg of plastic transfer bringing them over to the factory. That'll just help make this run a little faster and a little more efficient, which should return or result in quite a bit more money. So what we need to do now is buy some wagons and set them on the plastics line. So now demand should start showing up for our chemical plant. And our plastics should start getting set onto here and moved around. I'm going to speed up time a bit. Let's take a look at our lines and how they are doing. So our crude line, as expected, is making a lot of money, and it could use even more wagons on that line. As you can see, it's stacking up a bit. And it actually looks like we could use some more on our oil line as well. So let's go ahead and get a few more. So we're just going to add 2 more to each line. And it looks like our planks line is not making money yet, but our wood line is. And somewhat surprisingly, we're not making hardly any money on our passenger lines right now. I'm not sure if there's just, I guess, not enough demand between these. We could definitely add some more stagecoaches for our between city line. So it looks like we're not getting hardly any people on the intercity line, so I'm just going to grab one of the stagecoaches. And you can see how nice this UI mod is I'm using. It makes it much easier to see our vehicles and what vehicle is what. So you can see that these are our freight vehicles. There's our buses in red. I believe trains will be in yellow, etc. But anyway, so we grab this guy and we are going to actually move him over to our Corsham-Dulverton line. And we may actually do that in Corsham as well. I keep wanting to call it Corsham, but it's Corsham or Corsham. Probably Corsham, seeing as these are somewhat European names, or I guess more UK names. I have to say that these town names are much easier to pronounce. I was playing with the German name set and I thought that would be pretty easy, but no, I was very unclear on how to pronounce some of the town names and came across a little dumb. But that's what happens when you're an American. Can't pronounce all these. You don't get the cool accent of all the Europeans. And I'm a little mad about that. I wish I had a really cool UK accent or something. Makes everything sound better. But yeah, you can see our Corsham to Dulverton line is really bringing in some money now. But so is our oil line. Our crude and our oil. And even our wood line is coming up pretty well. So this is looking very good. And in fact, I'm going to pay off one part of our loan just to lower our interest rates for the long run here. But yeah, as you can see, this is a damn near perfect start. If we had, which there is one down here, if the quarry was a bit closer to our construction materials, we would have just about everything covered in this one section of the map. So we're definitely going to build this up before we get further into the game and really get some money going here. And then we'll be using train lines to hook up everyone else. But yeah, that is pretty much going to do it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe, share it with your friends, and I will see all of you in the next episode.